I'm Ronnie from Ronnie's Garage, and I am the technical chairperson for the Southern California region of the Rolls-Royce Owners Club. Now, you notice how the end of this glue here is getting really hard to work with. See that? Take a paper towel, is what I recommend. You can get most of that right off of there. And back to business. Now, you guys are probably wondering why I don't do it this way, which I can. But I like that smoother finish. See that?
Or an even thicker.
Yeah. I think this is going to be more than we need here. Where's my knife? Okay. So once again, that side out. So I went down and butted against the top of that other piece of rubber that went in there. And now I'm going to, when you go around these curves, you kind of got to bias the rubber a bit. Make sure you have enough there. If you try to pull it too tight, in other words, stretch it, it's going to come undone on you. Now, right now I'm going to feed the rubber through before it's too late, because you have to go around this. This is a little door stop here, and then this curved piece right here holds the wires for the window switch, and if you have door speakers. As you can see, I wasted some glue. Where's my scissors? So that's about right there. So this is how I like it to look right here. I could have done this a little more perfect here, but it's not something you see a lot, fortunately. And when the door closes, it compresses that against there. So now we'll make a rough cut here, which we're pretty close. We're almost finished with this one. It's getting sloppy at the end. As you can see, I'm just putting like a little glob about that big on there and smoothing it down. I don't usually use the crazy glue down here, because it's not really necessary. It's a compression fit. Here's where it's most important. But you can use it if you like.
This rubber should last how many years, you think, before you replace it again?
You know, I'm not sure. I've got cars out there with at least 10 years on them. Depends on how often it's used, if it's in the sun all day long, a lot of things. But it's high quality. Compared to the original stuff, it's pretty high quality stuff. Everything nowadays seems to be cheaper, well, relatively, and better quality as far as rubber and that kind of stuff. Paints, I think the paints nowadays are incredibly good. Old lacquer paint jobs are high maintenance. So I've gone beyond the 1 foot section I was talking about, and part of the reason is I've done a lot of these, and I've given you guys the basics on that, but I recommend if you're doing this the first time, don't go too far, don't get too far ahead of yourself. And you see how I hold everything very carefully away from the car. if you get big long sections and you slip and drop something, it'll stick to something else, or get some of this black glue, which in the business we call this, I don't know why they did, the yellow stuff especially, it's called elephant snot. I don't know where that came up from, but that's, you tell an old mechanic the elephant snot, he knows exactly what you're talking about. I like to kind of, when I put this in here, if you just put it in like that, it's going to get in the wrong. I try to get this thing up flat against that as much as possible, and tuck it in this little groove here. You want to get behind it a little bit. So I kind of twist it as I go, because I like it up tight against that. Got a little glue there. So now that kind of goes together, so when this closes, it's going to fold it up there.
So that's like a butt joint, not a...
Yeah, it's just a
miter?
butt. Yeah, it's not a miter. I just kind of made it. Now let's see if the door closes. See how it pops out? It means you've got a really tight seal right now. And if you want to check for, let's see if I have a dollar bill in here. Do this with the window down. Oops. Shouldn't be able to pull it out real easy. You can check for gaps. This might be a little bit tight. But I'm going to show you something that everyone needs to understand that you can mess something up with. If your window is too tight against here, a lot of times the old seals, people will adjust it so it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and that makes it harder to seal or close when it gets older. You can take and you can, this thing is pretty flexible. You can, watch this. You can bend it, but you always want to make sure it's still touching. So, as I think I said at the beginning of this rubber, once the car sits for a few days, it gets conformed a little bit better since it's so soft, and the doors get easier and easier to close. So normally when I do this kind of stuff, I check it to make sure it closes, and then I leave the door open. You can pull the number 1 fuse or disconnect your battery, only because you want the glue to set up really good before you do this. Normally I'll do it overnight, but it's a nice tight seal. That's that. There we go.